Hello students, welcome to Bishal Academy. Uh, so today we will be starting part 2 of the chapter 2, which is Nelson Mandela. So today we'll try to cover the rest of the chapter in this video. So video to hekholo tumaloke pura saba so that you can understand the rest of the chapter. So without any further delay, let's just start our video. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people whose sufferings and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me, as I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had brought. So, in this paragraph, Nelson Mandela is trying to say that তেওঁ ক'ব বিচাৰি আছিলে যে ইনগ্ৰেশ্যনৰ দিনাখন তেওঁ এইটো ফিল কৰি আছিলে যে এই ফ্ৰীডমটো আফ্ৰিকান পিপলে কেতিয়াও পাব নোৱাৰিলে হয় if a long line of African patriots would not have fought for their freedom. So Nelson Mandela believe কৰিছিলে যে তেওঁ just এটা part আছিলে সেই freedom movement and all the freedom movement in South Africa was not because of him. He was just a part of that movement. So তেওঁ কৈছিলে এইটো লাইনৰ পৰা আমি বস্তুটো বুজি পাইছোঁ that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. মানে তেওঁ ক'ব বিচাৰিছে যে he is just one of those great African patriots. Patriot is someone who has sacrificed his or her life for the noble cause of their country. Okay. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it procured the Olivier Tambos, the Walter Sislers, Shiv Lutley's, Yusuf Tatu's, Bram Fisher's, Robert Wisco's of our time, men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. So, in this particular paragraph, Nelson Mandela is trying to convey the message that apartheidৰ যোনটো policy create হৈছিলে South Africa সেই কাৰণে মানুহৰ মনত বহুত বেছি এটা hurt মানে বহুত বেছি এটা wound, deep hurt and lasting wound জাগ্ৰত হৈ গৈছিলে মানুহৰ মনত এটা লাষ্টিং ইমপ্ৰেশ্যন থাকি গৈছিলে আৰু সেই ইমপ্ৰেশ্যনটো সিহঁতে ৰিকভাৰ হ'ব কাৰণে সেই বস্তুটোৰ পৰা সেই এপাৰ্থিয়েটৰ অপাৰেশ্যনৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকৰ বহুত বছৰ লাগিব ইফ নট জেনেৰেশ্যন মানে জেনেৰেশ্যন নহ'লেও তেতিয়াও বহুত বেছি বছৰ লাগিব সেই বস্তুটোৰ পৰা ৰিকভাৰ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে কিন্তু এই যোনটো অপাৰেশ্যনৰ প্ৰচেছ আছিলে South Africa which lasted over more than 3 centuries, it created many extraordinary people. ইয়াতে সেই extraordinary African patriots of Nelson Mandela compare কৰিছে with Olivier Tambos, Walter Sislers, Shiv Lithius and Yusuf Tatu's, Bram Fisher's, Robert Sobukwe. তো এইবোৰ কি হয় এইবোৰ personalities কোন হয় See, this is Olivier Tambo, this is Walter Sislers, this is Shiv Luthuli, this is Yusuf Tabu, Brian Fishers, Robert Sobukwe. All the One thing which is common in all of them is that they were all great patriots. Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, inert and truer than the purest diamonds. So, students, one thing which you all need to know is that Africa এনেকুৱা এটা দেশ হয় য'ত মিনাৰেলছৰ বা নেচাৰেল ৰিচোৰ্চেছৰ একো কমি নাই। তাতে বহুতবোৰ ভাল মিনাৰেলছ পোৱা যায়, জেমছ মিনছ প্ৰেচিয়াছ ষ্ট'নছ পোৱা যায়। কিন্তু নেলছন মেণ্ডেলা সেইবোৰ মিনাৰেলছ আৰু জেমছক কিহৰ লগত কম্পেয়াৰ কৰিছে? He compared all those minerals and gems with his peoples. He said that their people, African people, are truer than the purest diamonds. He compared African peoples with diamonds. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and fortune without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defines the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid but he who conquers that fear. So, this paragraph is very to understand important to understand, students. So here what Nelson Mandela is trying to tell all of us is that through his struggles, তেওঁৰ struggles পৰা তেওঁৰ কষ্টৰ পৰা তেওঁৰ courage develop কৰিছে, তেওঁৰ সাহস develop কৰিছে, courage মানে সাহস। টাইমলি তেওঁ বহুতবোৰ এনেকৈ মানুহ চাইছে, এনেকৈ মেন চাইছে আৰু women's চাইছে যোনে নিজৰ লাইফক ৰিস্কত ৰাখিছে for just the idea of freeing their country. So this is what he is trying to say. And he also says that courage was not the absence of fear. Means কি হয় সাহস এনেকুৱা এটা বস্তু নহয় য'ত আমি ভয় নাখাওঁ, but the triumph over it. Triumph means what? যেতিয়া আমি সাহস কৰোঁ তেতিয়া আমাৰ ভয় লাগে, but আমি যেতিয়া সেই ভয়টোক overcome কৰোঁ তেতিয়াহে আমি true courageটোক experience কৰিব পাৰোঁ। এই বস্তুটো নেলছন মেণ্ডেলাই এই পেৰাগ্ৰাফত ক'ব বিচাৰি আছে আমাক। No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimiest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So, what he's trying to say is that আমি জন্মৰ পৰাই কাবাক হেট কৰা নিশিকো, কাবাক নফৰেট কৰাটো সেইটো আমি জন্মৰ পৰাই শিকি নাহোঁ, কাবাক judge কৰা on the basis of his skin color or his background or his religion. We don't learn all these things from uh, from our from the time of our birth, but we learn all these things from our society. So he says that হেট কৰা যিমান ইজি হয়, লাভ কৰা তাতকৈ বেছি ইজি হয়, বিকজ লাভ ইজ ছামথিং উইচ কামছ নেচাৰেলি টু হিউমেন হাৰ্ট দেন হেট্ৰেড। চ' ইয়াতে এটা ইনচিডেণ্টৰ কথা কৈছে নেলছন মেণ্ডেলাই যে যেতিয়া তেওঁ প্ৰিজনত আছিলে, মানে জেইলত আছিলে, তেওঁৰ বেলেগ কমৰেডছৰ লগত, কমৰেডছ মিনছ আদাৰ পেট্ৰইড, চ' হি ৱাজ পুছ টু হিজ লিমিটছ, বাট তেওঁ এটা গাৰ্ডৰ ভিতৰত he could sense a feeling of humanity, even if it's for just a second. So that thing encouraged him and pushed him further to just try and never give up on his decision. Here he says, man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. মানুহৰ যোনটো ভাল কথা হয়, মানুহৰ যোনটো গুড ছাইড হয়, সেইটো এটা ফ্লেমৰ নিচিনা হয়। ফ্লেম মিনছ এটা জুইৰ নিচিনা হয়, যোনটোক আমি লুকাবতো পাৰোঁ কিন্তু কেতিয়াও শেষ কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ। In life, every man has twin obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has another obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duties to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. So, what he is trying to say is that every human being has some obligations. Obligations means সব মানুহৰ তাত কিছুমান duties আছে towards their family, towards their parents, and their children, and also to their community, to their country. So at a civil society means য'ত সব মানুহ চবকে ইকুৱেলি ট্ৰিট কৰা হয়, that is called a civil society, য'ত মানুহবিলাকে ৰেচনেল থিংকিং ৰাখে, য'ত ক্ৰিটিচাইজ কৰা নহয় মানুহক on the basis of their gender, color or their background. That is something called civil society. সেইবোৰ societyত এইবোৰ obligations fulfill kora is very easy, but in a country which is like South Africa, where people are discriminated on the basis of their color, this both of these obligations cannot be fulfilled at the same time. দুটাই obligation সমান টাইমত fulfill কৰাটো possible নহয়। সেইটোৱে কি কয় নেলছন মেণ্ডেলাজীয়ে আমাক ক'ব বিচাৰি আছিলে। কিন্তু যেতিয়া নেলছন মেণ্ডেলা ভাবিছিলে যে তেওঁৰ কমিউনিটিক এই থিংকিঙৰ পৰা, এই হাৰ্ছ ট্ৰিটমেণ্টৰ পৰা বচাব ট্ৰাই কৰিছিলে, তেতিয়া তেওঁ ভাবা নাছিলে যে তেওঁ he will fail to fulfill his obligation as a son, as a brother, a father, and a husband. Means he will not be able to give time to his family. তেওঁ ভাবিছিলে যে তেওঁ দুটাই বস্তু ভালকৈ মেনেজ কৰিব পাৰিব, but what happens, students, is that when you try to do something for the society, or when you try to move forward for a noble cause, that time other obligations takes a back step. You want it or you don't want it, but this is the truth. So this truth Nelson Mandela has also faced. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast millies under the stars and ride the broad back of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I have been to hunger for it. At first, as a student wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night and read what I want, please to go where I choose. Later, as a young man, in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. So here, Nelson Mandela is trying to say that when he was young, তেওঁ যেতিয়া সৰু আছিলে, তেওঁ তেতিয়াৰ পৰাই এই ফ্ৰীডম বস্তুটো বিচৰা নাছিলে। সৰু থাকোঁতে তেওঁ ফ্ৰী আছিলে বিকজ সৰু থাকোঁতে তেওঁৰ ইমান এটা চিন্তা নাছিলে। তেওঁ পিচফুলি তেওঁৰ লাইফ পাছ অন কৰিছিলে এট হিজ ভিলেজ, running through his running near the field of his mother's hut, enjoying the mealies under the star, riding the broad back of slow moving bulls, and all these things. As long as he abided his father, means যেতিয়ালৈ দেউতাৰ ফাদাৰৰ কথা দেউতাৰ কথা শুনিছিলে তেতিয়ালৈ তেওঁৰ লাইফত একো প্ৰব্লেম নাছিলে। বাট যেতিয়া তেওঁ অলপ ডাঙৰ হ'লে, তেওঁৰ বয়হুডত এণ্টাৰ কৰিলে, তেতিয়া আৰু অলপ ফ্ৰীডম তেওঁ বিচাৰিলে এজ এ ষ্টুডেণ্ট, দেট হি কেন he wanted the freedom to read what he wants, go to the college where he wants. But all these freedoms were transitory freedoms. And uh, then he slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger of my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom. So he's trying to say that যেতিয়া তেওঁ মানে তেওঁৰ কলেজ লাইফ কমপ্লিট কৰিলে, তেওঁৰ ষ্টাডিজ কমপ্লিট কৰিলে, তেতিয়া তেওঁ চালে যে যোনটো ফ্ৰীডম তেওঁ বিচাৰি আছিলে, ইট ৱাজ জাষ্ট আ টেম্পৰেৰী ফ্ৰীডম, ইট ৱাজ নট a full-fledged freedom. He saw that his brothers and sisters, means they were also not free. They were also feeling oppressed, just like as he was getting oppressed, and he wanted to finish all this oppression. At that time, he joined the African National Congress, and freedom for his hunger for his own freedom became the hunger for the freedom of everyone in his society. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The claims on any one of my people, the chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. So, in this particular paragraph, he is trying to say that freedom is all the freedoms that he wanted as a child, or in during his boyhood, or when he was young, ready to be married. All those freedoms were transitory freedoms, and that meant nothing. But the real freedom, which meant something for him and his people, were the right to live with dignity and self-respect. means তেওঁ আত্মসন্মানৰ জিন্দগী জীয়াব বিচাৰিছিলে, তেওঁ জীয়াব বিচাৰিছিলে, আৰু তেওঁৰ ছ'চাইটিত যিমান মানুহ আছে চবেই জীয়াব বিচাৰিছিলে আত্মসন্মান আৰু ডিগনিটি ভৰা এটা জীৱন। So that desire turned an frightened young man, এটা ভয়াতুৰ সৰু বাচ্চাৰ যোনটো আছিলে তেওঁৰ ভিতৰত, সেই ভয়াতুৰ সৰু বাচ্চাটোক এটা বল্ড মানুহক লৈ ট্ৰান্সফৰ্ম কৰিছে। তেওঁ এটা ল এবাইডিং এটৰ্নি আছিলে, মিনছ এটা এনেধৰণৰ এজন ব্যক্তি যোনে চব লক মানে। বাট ডেট পাৰ্চন বিকেম আ ক্ৰিমিনেল। they were the family loving husband আছিলে the family loving person আছিলে but that person became a man with no home. He lived like a monk. He wanted to live a dignity and self-respect life. That's why he sacrificed his loving his he wanted to live a dignified and self-respect life. So that's why he sacrificed all the limited rights he had so that he can gain all the uh, self-respect and dignity for his society, for his tribe. He says that the chain on any one of my people were the chains on all of them, the chains on all of my people were the chains on me. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So তেওঁ কৈছে যে আমি যেতিয়া বেলেগৰ ফ্ৰীডম লৈ লওঁ তেতিয়া আমি নিজেও ভালকৈ ফ্ৰীডম এক্সপিৰিয়েঞ্চ কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ. So yes students, here we complete our chapter. So ইয়াতে prejudice যোনটো হয় prejudiceৰ meaning হ'ল when we dislike someone or something but we don't have any good reason to dislike that person or that something, that is called prejudice. So students, next যোনটো video হ'ব এইটো chapter 2 Q&As ৰ ওপৰত video হ'ব. So just wait for that video, and till then just try to understand this chapter, and if you have any queries related to this chapter তেনেহলে তোমালোকে তলত comment boxত comment কৰিব পাৰা, and I'll be happy enough to address your queries. Thank you students.